Thank you, Teresa, for hopping on. We have been working together with your podcast, getting your podcast launched, and I appreciate you being willing to share a bit about your experience. So I would say, what was the challenge that you were working with as to when you were wanting to start a podcast and kind of what made you want to start one? Let's start there.
Well, I want to start a podcast because I finally think I have something really important to say. And, I love the podcast venue or the podcast platform because it really can be done at my pace. And I love the idea of incorporating other experts into what I do and being able to go to the world with real value. So, with that, though, I also know that there is a ton of administrative, technical setup and delivery if you're going to do it right. It's not just about getting in front of a mic, having a conversation, and hoping for the best. You really do need to not only not only work with your audience, but your podcast guests, the people that you're bringing onto the show, and being able to give them a format and a flow or a workflow to work through kind of their signing up journey, not really a buying journey, but they're going to be on the show. How do you prepare them to be successful? How do you show them that you take them seriously? And how do you make sure that they're featured in the best possible light once they're on the show? So having that pre-show framework around when they're signing up, what questions you're asking them, what steps you ask them to go through to get prepared, what information you're gathering from them so you can represent them well once they're live. And then after the fact, how do we get them their show notes? How do we get them their show details and all of that without doing it manually? And that to me has been the number one thing that has I've avoided starting a podcast because I know how much work goes into them from that perspective. And while I'd love to just end up on a mic and talk, there's more to it than that. So when you and I met and we talked about this, and you said, "Hey, I'll set it up and I'll get it all the." When you said you did all of the electronic and the tech and the connections and the writing, I'm like, done. Let's do this thing. That's what I need, so I can just show up on the mic and do what I do best and have these conversations.
Yeah. And how has that been to be able to take all of that off of your plate so you don't have to worry about the reminders and the scheduling and the coordination and like all that stuff is just completely done for you, frankly.
Well, my guests love it. My guests love that it's timely, that they hear from me, that there's a follow-up process and a preparation process. They feel more confident and it builds that relationship. It builds between myself and the guest. It also, from my perspective, I can focus on topic selection. I can focus on what questions I want to ask. I can focus on my audience and everything else I have to do in my business. It just really, and it doesn't require me to hire two or three other people, VAs or admins, and the cost of that, I don't have to do any of that because it's mostly automated. And then I have I have to chime in every once in a while to move things along and have real conversations with people. But otherwise, all of that administrative is taken care of, and it just really gives me a lot of relief, and I have a lot of fun with my podcast because of it.
I love that. And to your point, that's massive cost savings that you don't have to pay for those ongoing resources and administrative tasks that frankly we automate, like through your system, through the podcast
Right.
hosting. It's all automated for you.
Exactly, exactly. And what most people don't realize is there's a whole production process with this as well. Editing the video, posting the video. There's all things that I do need a VA for. So it literally is cutting my fees and my costs in half, if
Yeah.
not more.
Absolutely. And how has that been having that white glove personalized experience with your guests? Like, has that helped building relationships or how has that played out for you?
Absolutely. I mean, the collaborations that we have that I've been able to orchestrate, the I mean, I have guests who have come on and we've now become referral partners, and
Mhm.
it's all because they felt taken care of. We get on, we have great rapport. It feels like we're ready, and it almost feels like we know each other a little bit before we ever start. It's never two strangers getting on, the camera or getting on the mic and hoping for the best. We have some momentum going into that conversation, and then after the podcast they're so appreciative of being able to get their assets on a timely basis because it's important for them to promote as well. It's important for them to be able to say, "Hey, I was on this podcast, go listen to what I had to say." And it's promotion for me. I'm now in their network being seen by their audiences. And quite honestly, they're happy to do it because it was done in a timely fashion. It was done efficiently. They knew what to expect. just everything flows really, really well and very smoothly. And I think that builds trust. And that's what we need in the marketplace.
For sure. And we talked originally about, strategically, like the guests that you should have on your show. How are you finding the guest, inviting them, and how has that worked out for you?
It really is just going out and taking a look at who they are on LinkedIn, looking at their website and taking a look at, who is my best possible prospect and who will add the most value. And oftentimes it's an outreach. And then once they're in my funnel, once they're in my system, the system takes care of it from there to really nurture them and encourage them to be on the podcast. And it's not hard to find guests. People, experts everywhere want to be on podcasts and be able to talk about their expertise and share it and bring value to the marketplace. So that's not difficult, but really knowing who to go after and how to go after, how to talk to them and what to say and how to bring them into the fold has been super simple and very easy to do.
Awesome. And for people that are thinking, I would love to start a podcast, but I'll just figure it out myself, or I don't need all that stuff. I'll just, I'll half-ass it, whatever they're thinking. Like, what would you say to them?
I would say that one of the biggest reasons why podcasts don't last and they don't become successful and they don't become well listened is because someone has said I'll do it all myself and they take on too much and they don't end up doing it effectively. And
Mhm.
if this is the part you can automate and create a workflow for yourself, not only you'll reduce the stress for you, you'll have way more fun doing it because you're going to be able to focus on the parts that you like best, which is usually the interview or the sharing of your own content as a solo podcast, whichever, but all of the admin is taken care of. And when with anything, I'm a true believer. If you try to do it all yourself and work in zones of genius that you are not a genius in, you will spend 4 times as much money trying to do it. And if it's not money, it will be time. And time is money when you're in business because the time that you're caught up in all of the rat race of the tech, the coordination, the second guessing, that's time you could have been with a client. It could have been someone that you were working with on a sales call. It could have been someone you were working with in your marketing to nurture a relationship. It's wasted. And when that doesn't need to be a part of what you're doing, hand it off and delegate it. And especially if you have Julie and her team at your beck and call, that's you can trust that they're going to do it right. They know how to do it. They've been doing it for years. Don't second guess it. Just hand it over. Go enjoy the things that you like to enjoy the most and let this process work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to your point, it's way more sustainable. Like that's something I focus on with my clients from day one is doing it in a way that it's sustainable, that you're in it as long as you want to be in it, as often as you
That's
want
right.
to do podcasting, but you don't get burnout. And I think for the people that try to do it all themselves, they quickly become a statistic and they don't get that longevity and don't get those relationships and
That's right.
the value and the goals that they ultimately want to accomplish. So I
I've
agree.
coached thousands of clients over the last 10 years, literally thousands. And I will tell you, dozens and dozens of them have started podcasts and many of them failed
Yeah.
and or burned out, exactly what you just said. They burn out. There's too many niggly little things to do that they're not good at, number one, and they try to be good at, and it's not in their zone of genius. And so the hedgehog principle, delegate with that which is not in your zone of genius, get rid of it. And again, especially when it's as affordable as it is to work with you and your team, there is no reason to not hand that over.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you would want to share with people listening?
No, just the genuine nature that you and your team both go about keeping me in the loop, during the build out, after the build out, and it just was really, really smooth and very enjoyable and very human. Oftentimes I've had other done for you services that just felt like a big machine, and you bring such a personalized, caring touch because you really do care about your clients. That's how I feel as a client. You care about my success and you're not afraid to give me guidance where I might be a little off the mark. You're totally open to, hey, have you considered this and what about that? And you're a great ideator as well, which really, really helps the process. So thank you for all that you've done. It's been fantastic.
Oh, my pleasure. And I'm so proud of all you've done with your podcast and business and watching it grow. And I do. I have a very vested interest in the all of my clients' success. And ultimately, I'm happy when you're happy and you're doing really well. So it all
Awesome.
works together really well. But thank you, Teresa. I appreciate it
You're
very
so very welcome.